Welcome. I am so excited that I get to be here to talk to you about some of my favorite topics. So I love moms, I love babies, I love birth, and I love the nurses that take care of them. So I'm very passionate about this topic, and even if you aren't as passionate as maybe I am, I'm sure that we all would agree that birth is really one of life's most miraculous moments, right? I mean, absolutely. And so there is about 4 million babies that are born in this country every year. That is a lot of babies. And right upstairs, you probably parked in this building, but on the 6th floor of this parking garage, we welcome about 4,000 babies every year into this world. So it's really exciting. So I've been a nurse for 30 years. I did not go into nursing for math, but I would estimate that I have probably been in about 6,000 births, so a lot of births. And a lot has changed as far as childbirth goes, but a lot of things have really kind of stayed the same. We know that babies still have kind of one of two ways to come out, right? That hasn't really changed. One thing that is really noticeable is a skyrocketing rate in cesarean births. So in one generation, I have a graph to show you this, but in one generation, there has been about a 500% increase in this way of delivering babies. Currently, about 1 in every 3 babies is born by cesarean section, or that's about 30% of all births. And that's compared to about 1 in 20 in the 1970s. So we've really seen this pretty dramatic increase. Now, 4 million babies, that's a lot of babies, but actually that has decreased over the past several years. So we're actually at a 30-year low. About 2% less babies have been born since 2016. And I find this kind of to be interesting. We've seen this across most ages, most notably in our teenage moms. So for our teenage moms, they're having babies a little bit less. Oh, so here's that graph. So you can see, that even if you don't like graphs, you can see that's a pretty steady increase. Yeah, so this is actually the most common form of surgery in not only the United States, but in the world. All right, but moving along. So I was talking about ages of birth. So teenagers are having less babies, but there is one age group where we're actually seeing an increase. And does anybody want to just guess? You guys are so smart. It's amazing. So 45 and older. 45 and older. So there is about a 14% increase in that number. And I will say I experienced that too up in the childbirth center. Moms are older that are having babies. We know that assisted reproductive technology is quite common. It's safe. It's being used. And a lot of these moms, and moms in general, are only having like one baby, right? There's not the big families that we used to see. A couple other fun facts. So for all moms, the odds of having a baby boy are still a little bit slightly higher than a girl. Boys are keeping their leading edge with about 1,049 baby boys born to every 1,000 girls, okay? And that statistic has stayed the same for about 60 years. So I don't really know why, but I think it's kind of interesting as well. All right, so now I'm going to just I've talked about little fun facts just to get us going, but I really do want to talk about how I have seen changes in childbirth, and not really the way babies are born, but the way we welcome the baby into the world in the immediate period after the baby's being born, because it really does make a difference. So let's take a little walk down memory lane if this works. Okay, who remembers this? Yeah, there's some people that do, right? So this was the nursery viewing window, and most babies, if they were even well and normal, they spent the majority of their time in the nursery. They were lined up in rows. I kind of liked working like that. They were all in a row. I could watch them. It was wonderful. We brought our babies out kind of at a scheduled time when it was time to eat, and never if mom was asleep. They shouldn't be taking care of their baby if they were sleeping. And so if people wanted to see their baby, or visitors that came to see a baby, they would walk up and they'd look for the baby in the viewing window. And the nurse would point to little Johnny, third from the left, and we'd give a thumbs up, and that's kind of what it looked like. But this really doesn't exist anymore, so don't go upstairs looking for it. People still do. They're like, where's the babies? They're with their moms, all right? Okay, so, this has really been replaced by knowing that moms and babies probably should stay together, but even traditions a few decades ago still had a time where a baby had to pass its tests before we could see if it could stay with mom safely. So what did this look like? So the immediate time after the baby was born, it was sort of whisked away from the mom, and it was taken to this kind of nursery situation, and it was all under our careful watch to make sure that they could do okay on the outside. And so, this was really, I want to just say, with no malintention, right? There was no malice, but we did take babies from their perfectly designed heat source, their mom, and their perfectly designed food source, breast milk, and their comfort, their source of comfort, and we just kind of wanted to see how they did. And if they passed their test, then they were allowed to go back with their mom. So you can imagine, and probably some of you experienced this, as the mom in the room. You're not with your baby. You're wondering what is going on as they're getting their bath, because, we wanted babies to smell like a newborn. So, Johnson & Johnson baby, that is the smell of babies, right? We'd wash them up. And we actually wanted them to get their first feeding with us, just for a safety issue. We'd give them a bottle of sugar water, right? See how they did. So, so the mom, she's in the room and she's thinking, what's going on with my baby? And she did not have Facebook to distract her. She couldn't be scrolling through that, or Instagram. She couldn't FaceTime her baby. This was 30 years ago. So she just kind of wondered, and she was left alone. And then finally, once the baby passed all its tests, it was bundled up like a burrito, and it was sort of presented to the mom. Okay. So up until, so we've changed, and we realized that all those cares could probably be done in the same room with the mom, and that was probably a great idea. But I would say even up to a few years ago, moms really had to share their baby with the healthcare team, even in the room. So what do I mean by this? Baby was born, it had a brief time with mom, but then we'd want to do some really important stuff. Like, we felt like the weight of the baby was so important, right? We have to weigh the baby, we have to document that. We still wanted to bathe the baby and do a lot of things. So baby didn't have a lot of time right with mom, even though it was in the room. And then there was visitors. So there's a steady stream of visitors that come after a baby's born. And everybody's really allowed in the room, as long as it's okay with mom. So we have, friends and family and, moms and dads and the other mom and the other dad. I mean, there is all kinds of varieties of people that will come. And so we felt like that baby needed to be shared among all the visitors. So after we had weighed it and bathed it and bundled it like a burrito, it just went from visitor to visitor. And so it could be really hours before mom and baby could stay together. So this is kind of what it looks like now, moms and babies together. And this is the mom sort of looking from afar as we were doing all of our tasks with it. So now I'm really excited to say that we really realized that the best place for baby to be right after birth is with the mom, on the mom. So we do skin-to-skin care, where we actually put the baby, a naked baby, on mom's bare chest, and we leave it there uninterrupted for at least an hour. And it's really important. And this is really science. It's not just fluff. We know that babies do better. They are able to breathe better. Their temperature is better. They actually cry less, which was helpful for bonding if the baby's crying less. And mom has more confidence in caring for her baby. So we realize that the wait can wait. Family and friends can wait too. I mean, they can come in the room, but we really try to honor this sacred, once-in-a-lifetime hour, honestly, of keeping moms with babies. So a lot has changed with that. So you're probably wondering, or maybe you're wondering, what about the bath? So believe it or not, babies are not getting bathed right away anymore. Their babies are born with this natural substance called vernix, and it's actually very helpful to help not only keep babies warm, but also to prevent against infection. And we know babies don't have much of an immune system, so this is really an important step. We delay for at least 6 hours, but up to 24 hours of the bath, which might be different for some of you if you're having a baby or coming to visit babies in the hospital. Now, that being said, right after a baby's born, we still dry the baby off. Like, we dry, it doesn't look messy and terrible. Like, it looks clean, it just hasn't gotten its bath yet. All right. So this is a baby. I wish you could see this. This is a baby skin to skin. And that baby's kind of smiling, right? Yeah. They do that. They do smile. So you're probably thinking, okay, so Margie, I get what you're saying. Moms and babies should stay together all the time, and that sounds great. But what about the moms where their baby has to go to the NICU, right? So a time where a baby might be born too early, and we expect that it would need a higher level of care. So really cool concepts are changing in NICU management. I'm very excited about this. So there's a new model of care where actually a mom and a baby can have all the high-risk care in the same room. So the equipment that's needed for the baby and the equipment that is needed for the mom are in one room, and so we don't have to separate them. So I wish we did have a picture of this, but I don't. But if you visit our new childbirth center in 2020, when we're opening, we're going to have a couple of these integrated specialized NICU rooms. I'm really excited about this. So again, the care doesn't change for the baby. We still have the same doctors caring for, the same nurses caring for the baby, the same equipment, the same monitoring. It's just the geography is different. So I'm very, very excited about that. Okay. I'm not done, but I'm not done. So I really want to get into talking a little bit, just spending a little bit of time about how really it's the experience of childbirth that I think is so important and we're learning a lot more about. So if you haven't, so probably most of you haven't seen as many births as I have. I mean, there's a couple in the room that probably have that I've worked with, but I bet you even if you haven't, you've heard somebody's birth story, right? People love to share their birth story. I mean, people that share, young and old, complete strangers, good friends, everybody shares their birth story. So I know personally, I don't know if I'm a magnet for it because I'm passionate, maybe I just send out that message, but I have had birth stories shared with me at Target, in the checkout line. I have had it at Thanksgiving dinner. I have had it at dinner parties and cocktail parties, sporting events, and most recently on an airplane ride. So I am a magnet for it. But I bet you too, if you've given birth, you've shared your story, right? Like once or twice, and maybe even with a stranger. It's just what we do. We like to talk about our birth because it really does seem to matter. We know that women hold really close to their heart all the events surrounding their birth, and they love to talk about it and they're willing to share. And they've even done a lot of studies on women that are very old who really don't remember much of anything, and yet they remember a lot of details surrounding their birth. And this even extends to women that have Alzheimer's disease. They might not remember their children's name, but they remember the details of the birth. So, it's very clear that this just is not another day, right? It's a very, very special day. And so while, some births are what people plan for, others might be a little bit like made for movies. There's some things we have control over and some things we don't, but the way we care for our patients really can help inform their story. And that's why I'm really passionate about this topic. So, traditions today really are on thinking about the mom and the baby together. We do let evidence lead our way. We don't give sugar water anymore. It probably was not the best idea. I think the babies really liked it, but probably not the best idea. And, but we also really take into consideration the patient's experience surrounding birth. And so I have no doubt that it really is the kind of care that we provide that helps inform the way the story is told. So we know, as I kind of close, to say that birth is ever evolving. It's going to continue to change. It's always remembered, and honestly will always be shared. Okay, so thank you. And I'll be out there during the break if you want to share your birth story with me.